It was a typical sunny July morning when Mr. Shlomo Sheckelstein's dreams suddenly startled him awake. His dream had awoken him from a deep sleep. A sleep so deep, Mr. Sheckelstein, for a split second, understood the everyday waking world of the Goyim. But the feeling was fleeting, and his mind quickly returned to its dollars and senses. Mr. Sheckelstein awoke in a poor mood, as it was the middle of the month, and rent was not due for a very long time. Those who had the misfortune of knowing Mr. Sheckelstein knew that you could almost tell what day of the month it was, based on Mr. Sheckelstein's mood. However, it was not the date that had Mr. Sheckelstein in a poor mood today, but his dreams from the night before. You see, Mr. Sheckelstein's unconscious brain had made a connection that it had never made before. The month of July itself was anti-Semitic. July. Jew-lie. This could not possibly be a coincidence. Certainly this was an oversight by his Jewish ancestors, allowing the Goyim to use the Roman calendar, rather than conspire to push the Hebrew calendar into popular use. Mr. Sheckelstein thought to himself, "Oy vey, a lawsuit might be able to change that." However, these thoughts quickly dissipated, as Mr. Sheckelstein, awakening to a new day, remembered that his fireworks stand had managed to sell off all of the leftover fireworks to some very shady and scrawny-looking goys dressed in all black and wearing communist symbol face masks. Mr. Sheckelstein laughed to himself, remembering how much they overpaid for the rest of his stock. They didn't even try to negotiate a discount, and laughed again that the stupid fucking Goyim were still falling for communism, which is, of course, a Jewish invention to control the Goys. Not that he would have given them a discount even if they had asked. This was Mr. Sheckelstein's first year in the fireworks business, and he had already managed to fleece the stupid patriotic Americans of their hard-earned shekels for over $6,000. His mind briefly drifted to the $60,000 he would make next year, and if his Jewish schemes worked out, the $6 million his new fireworks business would bring in. This put Mr. Sheckelstein in a much better mood than he had been when he woke up. Mr. Sheckelstein had not yet deposited the cash from selling the rest of his fireworks inventory to the soy boys. He had planned to first pay his employees under the table using the cash, late of course, and to avoid those pesky taxes, before going to his favorite place to go, the bank. He had planned to do this the first thing in the morning, and so, after crawling out of bed and getting dressed, and certainly not forgetting to put on his yarmulke, he pulled out his phone and ordered an Uber. While he hated paying for such services, the joy it brought Mr. Sheckelstein to be able to summon the Goyim on demand to drive him around outweighed the cost. Within a few minutes, a car pulled up to Mr. Sheckelstein's residence, but upon seeing that the driver was Arabic, he quickly canceled the Uber and ordered another. Mr. Sheckelstein would never entrust his safety to a sand nigger, even if it was only a car ride, for at any time the sand nigger might decide it was Allah's will and start another shoah. It took 2 more sand nigger Uber drivers showing up before Mr. Sheckelstein decided to give up and try Lyft, only to have an actual nigger arrive as his driver. Seeing as Mr. Sheckelstein wanted to go to his favorite kosher breakfast bagel shop before they stopped serving breakfast, along with the discounted specials, he decided to risk it and get in the car. The car smelled as all vehicles do which are disgraced by the presence of niggers, of rank marijuana, spilled malt liquor, and their natural, disgusting, overwhelming body odor. Mr. Sheckelstein considered canceling this ride as well, but seeing as the bank was only 6 blocks away, he decided he could hold his massive nose and breath for most of the ride. The driver mumbled some guttural nigger-speak pleasantries as Mr. Sheckelstein entered the car, as if you could call anything coming from such a deep, naturally aggressive, hoarse voice pleasant, and off they went to the bank. This is the point at which Mr. Sheckelstein made a critical lapse in judgment, as in his attempt to save time and save money by making it to the discounted breakfast specials, he had pulled out the money from his fireworks sales and began to sort and count it. The nigger, while naturally slow and unobservant, was able to piece together 2 things: the destination of his rider and the presence of a small hook-nosed white guy in the back seat counting money. To the nigger, it was like he had hit the lottery, and his genetic disposition overpowered the very small rational area of his unevolved brain. The nigger drove past the bank, which Mr. Sheckelstein did not notice at first, as he was predisposed counting his money, and pulled into the parking lot of a local park. Mr. Sheckelstein, thinking they had arrived, looked up and noticed they were at a park, and exclaimed, "Oy vey! This is not the bank!" To which the nigger replied by pulling out his Glock 45, turning around in his seat and pointing the gun at Mr. Sheckelstein, and muttering, "Give me your money, cracker!" Mr. Sheckelstein attempted to protest, handing over his money, at which point the nigger snatched the money and then attempted to pistol whip Mr. Sheckelstein, but the distance and angle from the driver's seat to the back seat made this difficult, and in the fumblings, the Glock 45 discharged, shattering the rear window and nearly missing Mr. Sheckelstein. Fortunately for Mr. Sheckelstein, the nigger, of course not known for their intelligence or foresight, had picked the local park that was next to City Hall, and the local police station. The firearms discharge alerted the local police, who were nearby and quickly on the scene. The police approached the vehicle, guns drawn, and ordered both of them out of the car. Mr. Sheckelstein easily complied and was quickly taken into custody without incident. However, the nigger, being as niggers are, refused to follow orders so directly, and remained in the vehicle as he attempted to hide the marijuana and cocaine he had on him in between the seat cushions. To the officers, knowing a gun had already been discharged, the back windows shattered, the car still running, seeing quick jerking motions from the nigger in the driver's seat, the refusal to exit the vehicle made the entirely justified decision to open fire on the nigger, killing him nearly instantly. Mr. Sheckelstein was taken to the police station for an interview in which he explained all the events leading up to the shooting. Afterwards, he demanded his money be returned. However, the police had procedures to follow, and being as they found the gun and drugs in the car, it needed to conduct a full investigation, which could take months, if not years, and so Mr. Sheckelstein's money was entered into evidence and not returned. Mr. Sheckelstein, upon exiting the police station, wasn't as shaken up by the events that had transpired as he was by the costs he would have to incur to retain a lawyer to get his money back from the police, which would end up making the whole endeavor unprofitable, if he even recovered anything at all. It was then that Mr. Sheckelstein became the most angry, for he realized that he was still hungry and had missed the breakfast specials entirely, all thanks to some fucking nigger. The end.